DShK 12.7mm heavy machine gun. The Soviet DShK became one of the Red Army's most dependable low-altitude air defense weapons. Chambered in 12.7mm and fed by belt, it combined strong firepower with the rugged simplicity Soviet crews needed on the Eastern Front. It could engage low-flying aircraft out to roughly 1,600 yards, making it especially dangerous to strafing fighters and dive bombers. What made the DShK so valuable was reliability. It was expected to work in freezing winters, muddy spring roads, and dusty summer fighting, and it usually did. Its heavy barrel and muzzle brake helped control recoil and maintain practical accuracy during sustained bursts. Mounted on tripods, trucks, and armored vehicles, it gave Soviet units a flexible weapon that could move with the front. The DShK was not the most advanced anti-aircraft system of the war, but it did not need to be. It was durable, effective, and widely deployed. In a conflict where equipment often failed under pressure, the DShK earned its reputation by continuing to fire when it mattered most. M45 Quad Mount. The American M45 Quad Mount was one of the most intimidating low-level anti-aircraft weapons of the war. By combining 4.50 caliber M2 Browning machine guns on a powered mount, it created an enormous volume of fire against aircraft attacking at low altitude. With electric traverse and elevation, it could track fast-moving targets far more smoothly than manual systems. At full combat speed, the M45 could send thousands of rounds into the air each minute. Against dive bombers, ground attack aircraft, or troop concentrations, that kind of fire density was devastating. Its effective range was around 1,100 yards, ideal for defending columns, supply points, and advancing forces. The M45 also proved useful against ground targets. In Europe, crews used it to tear through tree lines, soft-skinned vehicles, and exposed infantry. That dual-purpose value made it even more feared. The system reflected a clear American approach to wartime firepower. If one gun was effective, four working together could dominate an entire engagement zone. Oerlikon 20mm cannon. The Oerlikon 20mm cannon became one of the most widely used close-range naval anti-aircraft guns of World War II. Simple, reliable, and compact, it was fitted to everything from large warships to patrol craft. For many sailors, it was the final protective layer when enemy aircraft got too close for heavier guns to respond effectively. Using a blowback-operated design and a top-mounted drum magazine, the Oerlikon was straightforward to maintain and quick to reload. It fired at a rate of around 450 rounds per minute and was effective at short range, especially against attacking aircraft on final approach. In naval combat, that mattered enormously. Whether facing dive bombers or kamikaze attacks later in the war, crews needed a weapon that could react fast and keep firing under pressure. The Oerlikon was not meant for long-distance interception. Its strength was immediate defense. It gave individual gun crews a real chance to stop an incoming threat in the final seconds before impact. That role made it one of the most important shipboard air defense weapons of the conflict. 12.8cm Flak 40. The German 12.8cm Flak 40 represented the heavy end of anti-aircraft warfare. Designed to engage high-altitude bombers, it fired a massive shell to heights approaching 48,000 feet. At that altitude, it was intended to challenge the Allied bomber formations attacking German cities and industrial centers. This was a powerful but cumbersome weapon. Weighing many tons, it was difficult to move and deploy, which limited its mobility in field conditions. Because of that, Flak 40 guns were often installed in fixed defensive positions, especially on the famous Flak towers in cities like Berlin and Vienna. From these reinforced sites, they served as long-range guardians against strategic bombing. A direct hit from a shell of this size could destroy even a heavy bomber outright, and even near misses were dangerous because of blast and fragmentation. The Flak 40 was not a practical, all-purpose gun. It was a specialized instrument built to counter the growing altitude and durability of Allied air power. In that role, it stood among the most formidable, heavy anti-aircraft weapons Germany produced. 2cm Flakvierling 38. The 2cm Flakvierling 38 was Germany's answer to fast, low-flying aircraft. By mounting four 20mm autocannons on a single platform, the system created an extremely high rate of fire that could saturate a target's flight path in seconds. For pilots attacking at low altitude, it was one of the most dangerous air defense weapons they could encounter. The Flakvierling could fire around 1,800 rounds per minute combined, making it ideal for point defense. Its high-speed traverse helped crews track aircraft in fleet leading attack windows, and its compact size meant it could be mounted on trailers, half-tracks, and rail platforms. That mobility gave German formations a protective umbrella that could move with them. It was also effective against lightly armored ground targets and infantry, especially when used in defensive positions. One of its greatest strengths was concentration. Instead of relying on a single stream of fire, it threw multiple streams together, increasing the chance of hits against evasive targets. In close-range air defense, that made the Flakvierling one of the most effective and recognizable weapons of the war. 90mm M1 anti-aircraft gun. The American 90mm M1 anti-aircraft gun marked an important shift from simple gun power to integrated fire control systems. On its own, the gun was already capable, firing a 23-pound projectile to altitudes around 34,000 feet. But what made it especially effective was its connection to radar and predictor systems. When paired with the SCR-584 radar and the M9 gun director, the 90mm battery became far more accurate than traditional visually aimed anti-aircraft guns. Radar could track incoming targets and feed data into the fire control equipment, allowing crews to calculate lead and fuse timing with much greater precision. That gave the weapon a major advantage against fast or hard-to-judge targets. This combination proved especially valuable against the V-1 flying bomb. Small, fast, and difficult to engage manually, the V-1 pushed air defense technology to its limits. Radar-directed 90mm batteries helped answer that challenge. The 90mm M1 showed that modern anti-aircraft warfare was no longer just about firing bigger shells. It was about linking guns, detection, and calculation into one effective system. QF 3.7-inch anti-aircraft gun. The British QF 3.7-inch anti-aircraft gun became the backbone of Britain's heavy air defense during the war. Built to engage enemy bombers at high altitude, it could fire a 28-pound shell to around 39,000 feet. That reach made it one of the key weapons used to defend British cities and infrastructure during sustained German air raids. One of the gun's strengths was the efficiency of its crews and support equipment. With a trained team, it could maintain a high practical rate of fire, despite the size of its ammunition. British fire control systems, including predictors for calculating course and fuse settings, improved its effectiveness and helped turn anti-aircraft fire into a more calculated form of defense. The 3.7-inch gun did not achieve the same legendary popular image as the German 88, but in operational terms, it was one of Britain's most important defensive weapons. It forced hostile bombers to operate under constant threat and helped shape the air battle over Britain. In a war where industrial cities had to survive repeated attack, the QF 3.7-inch gun played a central role. Bofors 40mm automatic gun. The Bofors 40mm automatic gun earned a reputation as one of the finest medium anti-aircraft weapons of World War II. Originally a Swedish design, it was adopted by many countries because it struck an ideal balance between range, rate of fire, hitting power, and reliability. It was equally at home on ships, with field armies, and in fixed defensive positions. Using 4-round clips, the Bofors could maintain a practical firing rhythm that kept pressure on attacking aircraft without long interruptions. Its 40mm shells carried enough explosive power that a single good hit could do serious damage. That made it far more destructive than heavy machine guns, while still being faster and more flexible than larger anti-aircraft artillery. The gun was especially important in naval warfare, where fleets needed a dependable mid-range defense between heavy dual-purpose guns and very short-range weapons like the Oerlikon. It also became a major success in production, especially in the United States, where manufacturing methods greatly expanded output. In service, the Bofors stood out for one simple reason. It consistently delivered the kind of performance wartime crews could trust. 8.8-centimeter Flak 18/36/37. Few weapons of World War II became as famous as the German 8.8-centimeter Flak, usually known simply as the 88. It was designed as a heavy anti-aircraft gun, capable of firing a high explosive shell to altitudes above 30,000 feet. But its reputation grew even larger because of its outstanding performance against ground targets, especially tanks. The 88's high muzzle velocity gave it excellent reach and penetration. In North Africa and elsewhere, German crews discovered that the same gun built to bring down aircraft could also destroy armored vehicles at long range. That dual-purpose flexibility made it one of the most respected battlefield weapons of the war. Variants such as the Flak 36 improved field practicality, including barrel arrangements that simplified maintenance. The gun could also be deployed relatively quickly for a weapon of its its class. In anti-aircraft use, it remained a powerful and accurate system. On the ground, it became a symbol of German tactical effectiveness. The 88's legend comes from that combination. It was dangerous in the sky, but equally feared on the battlefield below. 5-inch/38 caliber gun with VT proximity fuse. By the later years of the war, the U.S. Navy faced one of its hardest challenges, defending ships against determined, fast-closing air attacks, especially kamikazes. The 5-inch 38 caliber gun was already one of the Navy's best dual-purpose weapons, but its effectiveness increased dramatically when paired with the VT proximity fuse. This fuse allowed a shell to detonate automatically when it came close enough to an aircraft rather than requiring a direct hit or perfectly timed burst. That changed naval air defense in a major way. Near misses became far more dangerous, and the odds of bringing down incoming aircraft improved sharply. The 5-inch 38 was versatile, dependable, and widely used across the fleet. It could engage aircraft, surface targets, and shore positions, making it one of the most flexible naval guns of the war. But with the VT fuse, it became something more, a weapon system that combined good gunnery with a major technological breakthrough. In the face of mass air attack, that innovation helped give American warships a far stronger chance of survival. These 10 weapons show how varied World War II air defense really was. Some systems relied on sheer volume of fire. Others depended on shell size, range, or emerging technology like radar and proximity fuses. Together, they reflect the evolution of anti-aircraft warfare from simple gunfire to increasingly coordinated and specialized defense. If one weapon best represents that change, it may come down to what matters most to you: reliability, versatility, firepower, or innovation.